go by the name of Joffey Joe, and this is my show. Call it How I See It. And this is my second episode. I thank y'all for watching last week. Had a couple good viewership numbers I'm content with, and I am looking to grow and progress with this show. I appreciate y'all's support. I will make everything more available and more user friendly for y'all to come and check out. I appreciate the love and support. And on today's episode, I'm going to go into detail about a couple things. First thing I wanted to get into detail about is the Sixers. This is kind of part of the reason why I have my jersey on right now. So, yesterday, I woke up as I'm ready to go to work, and I saw a blockbuster trade that finally happened. James Harden was sent to the Clippers. In return, the Sixers received a bunch of rotational players and a conditional draft pick. However, in the grand scheme of things, Daryl Morey pulled a string that favored what James Harden wanted to do. But in the long scheme of things, I believe that the right move was made. I believe the Sixers had cut off a big chunk of cancer that they had on their team, as I elaborated in detail last week. I just don't think this relationship was going to go any better. And I also believe the right move was done here. Do I believe that we received enough in return? That is still a debatable question. Picking up Marcus Morris, a Philly native, and I definitely think that will help reignite him as a player playing in his hometown. I believe having Robert Covington come back will also be a big beneficial factor and key piece to our rotational piece that we have here. I think we definitely got longer around the perimeter. We did also pick up veteran Nick Batum, who's been around and can, spot up three. And also, we also picked up Kenyon Martin's son, who could be the entire X factor to this whole trade. We shall see. He's put up good numbers with the Rockets last year and was traded from the Rockets to the Clippers this year, and I don't believe he was fit in their rotation. However, he could carve a niche out with the Sixers, and he could totally be the total X factor in this trade. We shall see. However, in the grand scheme of things, after we initially made this trade for James Harden 2 years ago, we, as an organization, as Daryl Morey would like to say in today's interview, um, he believes that we did progress as an organization with James Harden here. Still did not make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. We lost another 3-2 lead to the Boston Celtics. And we also watched James Harden not produce in those last two games. Overall, they had a video of James Harden entering the Clippers locker room yesterday, and I think the players that were in the locker room took some time to absorb him entering the room. I know his buddy Russell Westbrook from playing with the OKC Thunder and as well with the Houston Rockets took a minute and, welcomed him and PJ Tucker. I did notice, I think most of the whole world noticed that Terrence Mann didn't seem too interested in partaking and greeting James Harden. However, things develop over time, and it should be interesting to see how exactly James Harden will fit into the Clippers. You've had clowns today, such as Stephen A. Smith, already deemed the Clippers as the best team in the NBA, which I think is a bunch of total nonsense. I think we will have to see in over by at least by the All-Star break to really understand the full diagram of this trade. What the Clippers are getting, though, like I was elaborating, other than that game one and game four in last year's Eastern Conference semifinals, where he had put up 40 points, James Harden was really absent the rest of that series and also had an 8-point performance against the Brooklyn Nets, which they did eventually sweep out, but in a game two performance only had put up 8 points. So overall, it's clear to it's clear to see he's not what he used to be. He's been more on the down, and I understand with the Sixers he had a different role as a facilitator. His assist numbers went up and his points per game went down. However, I think he had vision himself this year as he already wanted to be traded from the Sixers and hoped for a reunion with the Houston Rockets. But after sitting with the Rockets coach, he didn't seem they were on the same page. As James Harden elaborated to Ime Aduke, that he wanted to become that scoring prowess again, which the coach, Ime, did not match up with James Harden, and it was part of the reason why James Harden didn't end up in Houston. Um, I think James Harden's a big reason why Doc Rivers got fired. I believe Doc and James Harden's philosophies of how the ball was supposed to be distributed in those last two games really came to light, and that's why the Sixers got blown out. Um, Overall, I think there was a lot of pressure on the Clippers side and a win now mentality by their owner, Steve Ballmer, who's also in the process of opening up their own stadium where they can ball in Inglewood. I believe making this type of trade brings that type of splash that the Clippers need into helping getting people into that new stadium. I think we'll have to really see what really happens. I think someone in this trade that gets affected very immediately is Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, after having kind of a down situational position with the Lakers coming off the bench, ended up getting traded to the Clippers and actually, resurrected some of his career because a lot of people already thought he was ready and washed up. He put up numbers and helped that team get into the playoffs while Paul George and Kawhi Leonard didn't weren't available as they usually are not. But Russell Westbrook did do his job and help that team and played some of his, played some good basketball to help that team get back to where they needed to be. However, there is a track record of James Harden and Russell Westbrook playing together. In OKC, it was a different type of role where Russell was the main focal point of the offense while James Harden came off the bench. Years later, Russell Westbrook ended up as James Harden's teammate in Houston for a trade with Chris Paul, and that did not work out either. This is their third go around, and roles are different. It's very interesting to see how this team will be made up and how it's interesting to see how Ty Lue is going to mold and scribe this team into what they want to become. There isn't a true ball handler because there's three guys essentially that want the ball, and then you have Kawhi Leonard, who really is their best player. It should be interesting from those three players, including Paul George and Russell Westbrook, which are it should be interesting to see. However, it's a mess. I guess the Clippers will figure it out. I'm glad James Harden is on the other side of the country. We don't have to worry about him, really. Maybe unless we run into them in the finals, which could be a far stretch for both of these teams. But we shall see. I would never, not today or even in the end part of the year, deem the Clippers as the best team coming out of the West. I think they would get their floor cleaned against the Denver Nuggets and even the Lakers. So we shall see. Overall, I think, like I said, Steve Ballmer kind of pressed the issue and made his puppet of his basketball operations, Gillian Zucker, fork up another potential draft pick They basically have no more draft capital. They're in a situation where they are in a win now, like I was elaborating before. But overall, I think the Sixers did what they had to do. And honestly, I would have traded James Harden for 2 bags of peanuts. That's just how bad I think the situation has gotten there. Overall, I think the writing was already on the wall after watching the Sixers home opener on Monday night. Um, that whole video and the whole inspiration behind this team gave me chills, but just not seeing Harden included in that video, I think it was a great foreshadowing of what was to come, and a trade was imminent on happening, and it did. Overall, in the Sixers' point of view here, it frees up a lot of cap space. You pick up more assets that you could trade in the future. They already have some draft capital that they can use and flip around, and probably even get a new running mate for Tyrese Maxey. I totally believe this frees up Tyrese to be the player he wants to be. He has the green light. I even think that his shine can even overshine Joel Embiid's, which would be okay for Joel. I think Joel doesn't want the pressure of being the heavy load of a team. I think he's okay with doing his numbers and doing his job, but at the end of the day, I think he needs a running mate that he can trust, and I don't think there was really a trust between him and James Harden. I think it flashed at times when James would hit shots, but then he would get very cold, and that just wouldn't show up. And I think James Harden played a very selfish game of basketball. He always has his whole career. I believe he's always about himself. He's trying to prove his numbers to get his money so he can spend it like a freaking clown. But that's on him. That's his agenda. It's not our problem anymore. And I'm so glad he's not on our team anymore, because honestly, we were never going to win a championship with him here. And personally, I wasn't really excited when he got here, honestly. So good riddance. See you later, buddy. Go enjoy yourself. You got what you wanted again. And now we'll be okay. We'll be okay without you. We're going to be okay with you even sitting on the bench like a freaking clown that you are with your Kermit the Frog ass sweater. Get out of here. You got a bad taste of fashion, and you got a bad taste of using your money. So don't go broke, buddy, really. Because next year, I don't think, after the Clippers, I don't think there's any other options. Maybe China. That's really it. But I still don't like Daryl Morey. I think in my book, this gets a couple more points. In my book, you did the right thing. But overall, I would like to see you do another move and put this organization in the right track to win a championship. And overall, spinning back to Joel Embiid, I think Joel Embiid's fine with where he is. Personally, some people want to get rid of him and get more capital and make a team for the future. But I mean, there is a small window that we can still win now. Overall, he's if Nick Nurse, who I think is a better coach than Doc Rivers, in today's aspect of controlling players and getting them to actually listen and respond, and not being so lax and letting players play. I think Nurse has a better pulse on this team, believe it or not. I see it. I see them more as a family group. I saw some Halloween pictures where everybody was there. Everybody was there, and they had a good time, including Joel Embiid. So I can see that Joel Embiid is committed. He wants to be here, and personally, if you were to really tell Joel Embiid between Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson, I bet you 10 times out of 10, Joel Embiid would love to stay here and play with Tyrese Maxey and watch him grow, because I feel like Tyrese Maxey's ceiling can shatter anything Jalen Brunson's doing. Maybe Jalen Brunson hit his ceiling last playoffs. That's it. And that's really it, where you just beat the Cavaliers and get out the first round. That's really it. And I'm not really too surprised, honestly. I love Jalen Brunson. I loved him at Villanova, but overall, he's very limited at what he can do, and it actually showed when he was playing in the FIBA ball last summer. So we shall see. I think this, like I said, the green light goes to Tyrese Maxey, and I'm all aboard. I like the pieces that we have. I do think we got more perimeter defense, and I think things will look really good for us this year. It should be an interesting season. I still think, I think we're still behind Boston and Milwaukee, but Milwaukee's still a question mark, and we played them very well first game. So we shall see, and that's all I got to say. Hey, I'm back. And as you can see, I got my AJ Brown jersey on straight from China. Because you know why? It's all from China. But in greater light of all this, I want to get into detail about the game of the week this weekend. Not the Chiefs and Dolphins that are playing in Germany and it's really a big waste of time. Or the Bills and Bengals that play at 8:30 at night. No, I'm not trying to talk about those games. I'm talking about the real main event. I'm talking about the Eagles and Cowboys. 4 o'clock game. Everybody will be watching. Everybody will rather tune into that than the damn World Series. I guarantee that too. Who also has the lowest viewership in World Series history. Just wanted to say. However, the Eagles come off another win. They're 7-1. And we are favored at minus 160. We are also favored as a minus 3 point favorite. And the over-under is at 46.5, all according to DraftKings. However, this is a historical matchup which has a lot of bad blood. A lot of its bad blood started developing in the Buddy Ryan era. And now we are where we are. So, in the grand light of things in the past couple years, I won't lie. The Cowboys kind of have our number. Kind of. Sort of. Dak Prescott, that really isn't that great. He actually has been pretty great against us. In 11 games against us, he has 11 touchdowns and 1 interception. A shade under 2,800 yards. And that lone interception, mind you, came last year from Josh Sweat. However, after that interception, the brakes fell off for the Eagles, and we lost. We lost. What else did we lose? We lost to the Jets this year because of one big thing, and that's turnovers. Turnovers and turnovers and turnovers. We can't let turnovers beat us. And when I say we, of course, I mean the Eagles. So, even though many people will call out Dak Prescott for being a turnover machine, it has been Jalen Hurts this year that has a lot of the Eagles' turnovers. Out of the 13 offensive turnovers that the Eagles have committed this year, Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate because we have a winning record, has 11 of those turnovers. Very sloppy football. He is second in the league, minus some scrub of a quarterback that they call Desmond Ridder, who just got benched last week because of turnovers. But Jalen won't be benched because of his big contract. And personally, I would love to see Jalen Hurts come out and play a good game of football. He played a good game of football last week, but was it really him or was it more AJ Brown? Well, we shall see. Dak Prescott, who has been deemed the turnover king, but let's be real, he did have 15 interceptions last year. Only has 5 turnovers this year, which a lot of Cowboys fans will tip their hat off to. And the Eagles' past 3 games, we have 8 turnovers. And in the last 2 battles that we played the Cowboys last year, we have 4 turnovers. So, that is the biggest key to this game. If we don't turn the ball over, we're going to kick their ass. And like most of the theme this year as to why most of our games have been so close, we have been doing self-inflicting damage to ourselves. So, if we play a crisp, clean game with no penalties and no turnovers, I think that spread of -3 will turn into -7 or -10. But that's only if we play our A game. If we play any level to what they do, I don't know. It's a coin flip. It really is. But one thing we do have going for us, we are getting healthier. As Cam Jurgens has been activated in the 21-day injured reserve list. Jalen Carter has been a full participant in practice after leaving the game against Washington. We were very razor thin at defensive tackle, which was very alarming. Jordan Davis has been limited at practice this week with his hamstring injury. We are also getting back Soa Opeta. Well, he has also been limited at practice this week, but it looks like he's all go if things continue well for him this week in practice. And if him or Jurgens plays on the right guard side, I think we will definitely create a mismatch for the defensive line of the Cowboys, which I think is a bit overrated, as a lot of their coaches in camp in the beginning of the year were trying to shed light. DeMarcus Lawrence is still a problem. I believe his pressure numbers are still among top three right now in the NFL, along with Micah Parsons, because I think Micah Parsons plays a big factor in that as well. But as I sit here wearing an A.J. Brown jersey, and he is fresh off another game where he put up over 125 yards receiving and straight manhandling guys. That one-handed catch, what a thing of beauty, honestly. He is him. He is balling. Yeah, it has been put to light about him and Jalen Hurts and their little issue that they had in week 2. But I don't see any issues now. And yeah, most of the offense does run through A.J. Brown and the run game. But if it ain't broke, baby, don't fix it. Honestly, just keep it going. Especially since the Cowboys are missing Trayvon Diggs, who is out for the remainder of the year with a blown knee injury. I don't think Stephon Gilmore is what he used to be, to be honest with you. I am a bit, not worried, but definitely will keep my eye on Deron Bland. Young man has 3 pick sixes this season, and he has become a problem for some teams. However, I believe he is also in the nature of Trayvon Diggs in terms of jumping routes. So if we can get him to bite, maybe a sluggo route 1 or 2 times, I think he can totally be exposed and open up a whole floodgate for us to really pounce on them. It's very interesting. On the other side of the ball, I did want to shed light to someone who also had a good game last week. And no, not Dak Prescott. I'm talking about CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is making a case of why he should be considered a top 5 receiver. He had 2 touchdowns last week, and even before last week, he was balling as well. He's been doing very well. I'm really eager to see how our defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, does in terms of defensive play calling. He did very well against Tyreek Hill. He had a game plan against Justin Jefferson that I think they would have liked to had pan out a little better. I think with Kevin Byard now, it does give them more flexibility and more of a relaxed sense of mind with him in the defensive backfield. I think Slay and Bradbury will come to play. Question marks about who will be covering CD in the slot, since CD does line up mostly in the slot. I think Bradley Roby is still on the fence. Eli Ricks did play very well, and he did play very well against Tyreek Hill. Should be interesting. I mean, young man has been thrown in the fire, and he's come out. He's come out not burnt, not toast, not burnt. He's come out quite well. So we shall see. That is one thing I'll definitely like to keep my eye on. The real key is stopping their best player, and their best player is on defense, and he has become a menace to many teams. However, in the 2 games that we played against the Cowboys last year, he had 0 sacks. And this is also a total of, in 40 games for Michael Parsons, he has 32 career sacks. I think the zone reads that we used last year worked very well. Lane Johnson, even with a sprained ankle, can still be a wall. I think if even they like to line Micah Parsons on the opposite side, which Dan Quinn has shown he likes to do against numerous teams, I think Jordan Mailata can handle it. Jordan Mailata's not getting a lot of, you know, it's not Jordan Mailata is a great tackle. Honestly, he's a top 5 left tackle in football, and he should make the Pro Bowl this year because he's having an outstanding year. He has become a wall himself, and from what he's become, it's a great story. Honestly, it really is. But we shall see. Um, the last thing I wanted to shed light on in this matchup is the special teams. I think special teams is very important. I know our defensive special teams in terms of um, ret- the opposition returning punts has been very good this year. I think we ranked third in a stat I don't remember right now. I apologize, but we ranked third in returning against the punt. However, however, um, they do have a good kicker. Um, I don't know if we're gonna be able to crush through that wall and block any kicks. We shall see. I do think we got to keep an eye out for the that Turpin kid. That Turpin kid is fucking good, and he's been on a mission ever since he got here from the USFL. They use him a little bit on the offense, but he's a burner, and we cannot take him lightly, no matter how great and successful we've been this year. He is a weapon, and when he grabs the ball, he's either the fastest or the quickest man on the field. So he's definitely something to be on the lookout for. I think our special teams though, with Brandon Mann as our punter, has been a lot better. Definitely a lot better than Aaron Sipos. And if we had Brandon Mann in the Super Bowl, who knows? Maybe we would have won. Brandon Mann, since becoming our full-time punter, has about a shade under 47 yards per punt, which is, I believe, 4 yards better than Aaron Sipos had. Jake Elliott, I mean, other than some weird kicks, he's been mostly on the money. 50-yard field goals, he's been on the money. 5 out of 6, which I'll take, which was also including one that was over 60 yards. Overall, special teams will matter, and we shall see how this game on every level turns out. I'm really eager to see how Jalen Hurts plays in this game. I think he is what makes our offense go. Even with all the turnovers and mishaps, I think last week showed he can really lead this team and take it to where it needs to be. I do think we need to impose our will on the offensive line and control the clock as we usually do. I don't know their game plan. I tend to see their offense become very vanilla at times, but they showed out against the Rams, who kind of has a sorry ass defense. But we shall see how things turn out. Overall, I like us if we play our A game. I like us at least by a touchdown or 10 points. It should be a great game. I don't believe that any Dallas fans, no matter how much end up pulling up to the stadium, will make any type of difference to make them a home game against us in our stadium. I don't think that will ever happen. But all things considered, if we bring our A game, there's no reason why we don't win this game, honestly. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Micah Parsons, he's been coming out, recognizing our team, saying we're a special group. And deep down, personally, I think he really wants to be in Philly. But that's not the now. What is the now is this game and how we match up against them. Because if we do lose this game, they're only a half game behind us. We go into a bye week, we get rest and probably get healthy, and then we go through this gauntlet of teams, from the Chiefs to the Bills to the Cowboys again to the Seahawks later on, and including the 49ers in there, which I'm still worried about. We shall see. And I'm eager because this is a big stepping stone, a big yardstick of test, and it will really make or break our season. And this is one of the games that's going to start doing that. And that's what I got to say. So I'm back, and I just want to throw my 2 cents into some shenanigans that happened last Saturday. A robbery. A robbery concurred at a football game. No less, the Colorado Buffalo football game against UCLA. They lost. They're at 4-4 now. They were at such a hot start at 3-0, a suspect 3-0, and it's shown now. So, Coach Prime and the guys are where they are now. They come off another defeat against a top 25 team. Um, Coach Prime once again was outcoached by Chip Kelly for the first time. And now he has to deal with the issue of not only his son getting beat up because his offensive line can't block, but he's dealing with this issue of probably an inside job. Let's be really honest here. Who goes into the Colorado locker room and sorts out after their jewelry? Obviously, a lot of people know since these kids like to show out and put their jewelry all over the place and flash it in college kids' faces and say, look at what I have, and look at what you don't have, and look at how privileged I am. I won't lie, a lot of this has backed me away from this team. Not just the losing, just, their demeanor and how they carry themselves, which is all a reflection of their coach because he enables it and allows it and doesn't step in and do anything. But it would be great and funny if whoever took these the whoever stole the goods, whoever stole the jewelry was actually Deion Sanders. That would be a great story to all this, just to show these kids a lesson and you know a big lesson. But overall, I don't think that's what happened. I do think this is an inside job. Security is supposed to keep an eye on the other team's locker room. So who's able to go past security and ransack a locker room like that? That's pretty crazy. From my understanding, 5 kids had their goods stolen. And also, to my understanding, there was an incident at Jackson State where Deion Sanders also had some jewelry and prized possessions that was eventually stolen, but also was recovered by an assistant coach, which kind of sounds a little fishy. But Sanders is grateful for how that turned out and was even coming out at reports saying that he had his goods stolen when in fact it was recovered. In this situation, the police have been involved and are investigating, as is UCLA and the Rose Bowl. And to be honest, I don't think anyone's going to find this stuff. Unless, because a lot of people are stupid nowadays and want to flaunt everything, they flaunt the jewels on the internet. Because that's what people like to do, bro. They'll rob someone and then they'll flaunt it. And then they'll be like, hey, look at what I got. And then next second they know law and order's at their knocking at their door. So overall, I do believe that they learned a valuable lesson here. Even if they don't recover, or if they do recover their goods, I think they need to realize that this whole thing of them flashing their jewelry just only puts a target on their back, and they need to be more careful about how they conduct themselves. But that's not my message to give to them. That is Coach Prime's message to give to them. They are still in the fights to get to a bowl game. 2 more wins, they're in. There's only 4 games left. They do play Oregon State left. They still have a game against Oregon State, and I don't know exactly the rest of their schedule. But I do think that they'll sneak in, and overall, I think that the NCAA kind of needs them to sneak in, especially with the lack of attention these bowl games have been getting the last couple of years. So we shall see. But moral of the story is don't flaunt. Don't flaunt because you're going to get a target on your back, and if you're really from the hood, you really know that shit. So let's be real.